What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we have some Destiny 2 news. This comes in the form of this week at Bungie. We have information about the next faction rally, which is actually starting next week on the 20th of February. And on top of this, we have some details about the exotic tuning that is going to be coming to the game, and we get some pretty good insights into what they'll be doing. First of all though, faction rally will return to Destiny 2 on February the 20th at 9 AM Pacific, so that is next week's reset. I'm glad that they've actually kind of filled out the roadmap in this way. You know, we've got Crimson this week, faction rally next week, and then we get the update on the 27th. So it's certainly good that the cadence of content has kind of resumed after we didn't have these events for such a long time. But there are actually going to be some more weapons inside of this event. So they show us that there'll be some new weapons added to the packages for the event. This will include the Dead Orbit Linear Fusion Rifle, the New Monarchy Scout Rifle, which I can't remember exactly what the perks are, but it actually looks pretty good. And then we have the FWC Hand Cannon, and then the 3 auto rifles that were available last time. And these are the ones that will be available in the packages. So with the exception of New Monarchy, because they won last time, there will be 2 new Dead Orbit weapons, 2 new FWC weapons. There is the New Monarchy Scout, and then we also will have the featured weapons for the event. These are the ones that basically the winning faction will have for sale, but it will be the New Monarchy Pulse Rifle, as well as the Dead Orbit Pulse Rifle, and then they've gone with the FWC Scout Rifle. It's interesting that they've actually gone with a different option for FWC there. They could be trying to influence the votes perhaps a little bit, because FWC unfortunately still haven't won the faction rally, so it'll be interesting to see what actually happens this time around. But I'm certainly glad that they've put a few more weapons into the loot pool. It does make it that little bit more rewarding. On top of this, they've also fixed the Lost Sector kind of throttle that they put in place to fix the exploit, and now you do have to kill the boss in order to open each chest. So even if you can use the glitch to kind of get out of the area, unless you kill a boss again, you won't be able to get the chest, which is basically how they always intended it to work. So Lost Sector should be behaving in a normal fashion now. But up next we get some information about the exotic tuning that Bungie are actually working on, and this is from John Wisniewski from the Sandbox team. And he says that the goals for this exotic pass include a tuning pass on exotic gear focused on adding and or increasing player power spikes, a focus on low usage items but all items are being considered, and to lean into an item's established gameplay and push it harder, and to avoid catch-all improvements that dilute item identity. And he says we can look at Graviton Lance as an example. The functional concept is a weapon that fires 2 Cosmic Void rounds that create a 0 air resistance tunnel for a high caliber precision shot to fire through. The first 2 rounds have almost no recoil and prime the air, and the 3rd round does high damage with no fall off. A kill knocks the body back with considerable force, it tumbles and then explodes. Resounding player feedback has been along the lines of looks great, sounds great, neat explosions, but I can't get kills in PvP because all of the damage is at the end of the burst, it kicks too hard for the follow-up, and I can't reliably damage targets with the death explosion in any activity because the body goes flying too far backwards. He says to target the first pain point, we reduced the recoil of the burst, added some aim assist, and changed it from a 3-round to a 2-round burst. This still plays into the fantasy of a low damage, gravity neutralizing round forming a projectile tunnel for the last bullet. It also allows us to ensure that damage per burst is at a competitive level for PvP engagements. In fact, it gives Graviton a slight mathematical edge against other pulse rifles. On the second feedback item, we did some tuning to the ragdoll body. We made it so that rather than violently flying backwards and likely out of range of a potential splash damage opportunity, the defeated opponent floats back up, and then we made the explosion bigger, increased the damage, and added some void field projectiles that seek out any remaining targets. This is one of the more exaggerated examples to help describe how we're looking at our goals and applying them to the gear. At the time of this writing, the weapons that are not getting exotic updates are Merciless, Telesto, Warcliffe Coil, Minor Multitool, Colony, Legend of Acreus, and Vigilance Wing. Some of the above will perform well without needed changes, while others, like the Vigilance Wing Pulse Rifle, are already benefiting from the tuning changes planned for update 1.1.4. Everything else has had some degree of power or utility increase, whether it's simply bumping up a stat or some deeper plumbing as described above. We'll be touching a lot of powerful gear with this update, and to truly understand the impact for players requires a lot of design iteration and test time. It isn't enough to crank up the damage and run one strike or crucible match with a gun and helmet and move on. Dialing in the right amount of power, testing all activities with all types of loadouts, finding bugs, fixing the bugs, updating the perk description text to reflect new behavior, and then handing that off to localization for translation. It's a ton of work, but we're up to it. We really appreciate your patience, and I believe that it will be worth the wait. We'll be back soon to talk about exotic masterworks as well. Until then, continue being excellent to each other. So pretty interesting insights right there. It certainly sounds like some of what they're working on, is going to be pretty influential. They're definitely making some big changes here. So you'll have to let me know your thoughts on that. Certainly pretty in-depth stuff. But to end the update, they do clarify that Crimson Days will last until February the 20th. And after Crimson Days is finished, the Burnout map, which is based on the Burning Shrine, will be added to the general PvP rotation. Cosmo says he thinks he might pledge to FWC next week, starting to feel sorry for them. Who's with me? So certainly interesting, considering they did change that weapon to a scout for FWC. But that is the news, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I'm certainly, interested to see the faction rally return, see how that feels with the changes they made, and actually be able to hunt a couple of new weapons as well. I'm looking forward to the Sandbox tuning and the exotic pass and everything like that. But of course, that will be coming next month, so it's a little bit away yet. As always, though, leave me your thoughts below. If you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more Destiny 2 content. For now though, I hope you guys have an awesome day.